Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Debra. Deb has worked in the health and wellness space for over 30 years. She is now a behavior change specialist and coach for struggling parents, working to help stressed out parents improve their health and communication to positively impact their kids. I think we all need this. Deb will be sharing some awesome points about toxic parental roles leading to toxic relationships, low self-esteem, and how to see red flags. I am so excited for all the great information that we will be sharing here today. Welcome, lady. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is a subject that I think, whether we want to agree with it or not, or believe it or not, that we could all kind of dive into and look into as far as how we're doing it with our parental skills. And for those of us that think we're doing awesome, there's always room for improvement. So
Yeah.
I love everything that you're doing, everything you stand for. I'm excited to dive into your journey and your past and hear what you're doing now and create something really cool today.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
So tell us where you're from.
Oh, well, I'm from, well, we're not in the same place. I forget that. I live in North Carolina now. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I'm from just north of DC, so up in Maryland.
I love it.
Yeah.
What brought you down to North Carolina?
Well, I met my ex-husband in Atlanta, and we ended up moving here, and we thought we would try it out for a year, and 23 years later, still here. So yeah.
So
that's how I ended up here. Who knows where I'll eventually land, but that's where I'm here. Well, I'm here for now. So
I love it. Have you always been in the arena of personal development and growth?
I guess it depends on how you look at personal development, how you define personal development, right? I have a psychology degree, so I always kind of liked anything dealing with the mind. But to me, the psychology degree, for me, again, everything is how we interpret things, right? Isn't really personal. The personal development journey and growth journey I've been on the last 5 years is just completely different. Like, to me, the coaching space is different than I started going down the road of like therapy, counseling. And I find a distinct difference between the two. But yeah, I've had a very eclectic journey from psychology to personal training and being a yoga instructor and a Reiki master, where, you're developing and you're seeking answers for yourself along the way, while helping others. And what really fast forwarded my life in the last few years was right before the pandemic. I'd say I really started to get deep into this when I became a Reiki master. I don't know if you know anything about Reiki or if you're into that. But that kicked off my personal development journey, I'd have to say. So, yeah, I don't know if that's...
What made you follow or open the box of Reiki?
So I'm trying to think. You know what? This was when I was in my marriage and I was struggling in my marriage, which, as we know, I was struggling within myself. And someone had just referred me to my Reiki master, and I went and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with the energy of it, the vibration, the principles. And that just really, I think, changed my vibration and my relationship with myself. That was the beginning of really understanding that we do have control over ourselves. We become less narcissistic, actually, when we learn that we don't need to pull from others. We don't need the external validation. We don't need to blame other people. And even though I hadn't had the majority of my personal development learning has happened in the last 3 or 4 years, on top of a lifetime of experiences. But the Reiki principles, doing what's for your highest good, acting in what's for the highest good for all involved, that really helped me get out of my marriage peacefully and amicably. And so, I just practice it, meaning I would go and receive Reiki and talk to my Reiki master, and I would feel awesome. And then one day I just said, you know what? I really like this. I want to become a Reiki master. And I went through the levels of attunement to become a Reiki master. And that changes a person. It changes your energy. I didn't realize how transformative that would be energetically. And I needed a lot of energy work. I'm a very high vibration person as it is. And one of the things I really want to talk about is how to control your energy. I had a high vibration. I had a really positive impact on people when I was in a positive frame of mind. But that also has the flip side. When you have a high vibration, you have a lot of energy. When you're not in a good state of mind, you're passing that energy off too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of, as you know, individuals who are struggling in their partnerships and their marriages. And you said, you kind of peeked into Reiki to kind of, help with that at the moment. What would you say was like the number one thought process that helped you divorce amicably, I think you said?
Well, again, one of the main Reiki, I use all of my teachings. I call it like the Deb blender. I take all my knowledge and I put in a blender and I kind of use it as it's applicable to the person that I'm working with. And I think because I really had a lot of growth to do, I still was in the blame game, but I was starting to transform. The one Reiki thing that helped me is act in the highest good for all involved. And what that means, if my family was a unit of 4, right? My ex-husband, my 2 kids, and myself, I don't want to just do what's for my highest good, but I don't want to just do what's for everyone else's highest good. Like, I think a lot of times as women, we don't factor ourselves into the equation, and we're trying to please everybody. But then we become the martyr. Like, I did this for my family. And yeah, we do things as parents for our family, for our kids, but we leave ourselves out of the equation. And what that does is it makes it trains you unconsciously to put yourself last. And we do not serve others when we do that, especially when we have kids and when we're a leader of people, of a team, of a company. It doesn't mean you put yourself before others. It just means you put yourself with the others. So that really helped me. I was in a position where I really didn't earn much money and I didn't know how I was going to leave. And I also learned the principle is sometimes you don't have to know the how. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Sometimes if you want something and you see it and you believe it in your heart and you operate on the right principles, the how takes care of itself. And I just trusted and things moved. And, I have nothing bad to say about my ex-husband. It just isn't, everything I have looked back on had everything to do with me. And it was the right decision for us to end the marriage. It made me a better mom, a better person. Took me on a wild journey that I wouldn't have had. But probably it made my kids stronger and more resilient and made just us closer than we would have been had I stayed.
What would you say to individuals who are hearing this and they're like, good for you, Deb, and are thinking to themselves that their husbands wouldn't really follow that same nice, lovely journey that you're portraying here? How does you embracing your power also help the journey, even if one person isn't quite on board.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I give all credit to both of us adulting. I give, it was strength in him to allow things to be amicable, if that makes sense. I'm under no illusion that just because I was peaceful and doing this mindfully, I had to do it for myself. I was not, I was deeply, deeply, deeply unhappy and troubled. And it's funny because no one would have known. You know, we had the perfect family and the external, like what? Everyone's like, what? You guys are getting divorced? But I do give him props because he didn't make it ugly. I have been on this side of things now for 8-9 years ish, and I've seen the other side. And you know, part of the reason I like to coach dads who are struggling in their marriage or divorced, even though I probably focus more heavily on moms, is because if everybody acts, if everyone adults, if everyone learns that it is for the highest good for everyone, especially and including the kids, to adult, to be amicable, then everybody can win. I have one of my taglines is you can have a dysfunctional marriage and a functional divorce. And I feel like we're the poster children for that. You know, our kids have done great. They have had no hiccups in life because we both held it together. We don't badmouth each other. That's a big thing. Something I learned long ago is when you're in divorce or even you're married, but it's rocky, do not speak badly of your spouse or your ex in front of your kids, because they're 50% DNA of both of you. And when you badmouth your partner or your kid's parent, you're really inadvertently badmouthing the kid, and that goes into the children. So if anyone's listening and they're having a rough marriage and they're fighting around each other, or they're divorced and they're talking badly about, you know, you get your kids for the weekend, whatever your custody is, do not say a word about your ex. Don't, the kids are going to believe what they're going to believe, and they're going to learn as they get older what the truth is. And I always wanted them to love both of us and have a relationship with both of us. And we've never fought about custody. We've never tried to keep the kids away from one or the other. And I'm infinitely grateful for that. And I know that that story isn't always the same for everybody.
Yeah. Speaking on the same subject, and also speaking kind of from my own, you know, clients' stories I've heard, personal, not necessarily personal with me, but, you know, friends. What would you say to individuals who are combating accusations and feeling as if the child needs to know the truth, but the truth is so watered down?
Do you mean like if there's something that one parent like did and the kid needs to know the truth?
Or didn't do and is being lied about?
I'm not sure if I fully grasped the question, but I'll try
Okay,
to
let's
answer
just
it.
say cheating, for instance.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. Such and
Yeah.
such cheated, individual saying they didn't cheat,
Right.
child is confused. Does it even matter?
Again, to each their own, right? I think my personal opinion is I don't think the kids should have anything to do with the divorce at all. I think that people behave badly when they're unhappy. This goes for cheating, this goes for drugs, smoking, overeating, what have you. People behave badly when they're not able to give themselves what they need, when they're not getting what they need. And the kids shouldn't have anything to do with that, especially when they're young. But really at any point, because the kids are in the middle of an unhappy situation, even in the best of situations, that again, my personal opinion is that should stay with the adults. The adults should hammer that out. You know, again, someone's situation might be different, someone's belief might be different, and everyone has to do what's right for them. And I'm an advocate for that. But, you know, again, that's just going to turn into more anger and more slinging mud. I just think that any bad behavior is always a symptom of a bigger problem. Not that bad behavior is, you should condone that, right? But we're human. We behave badly when we're hurting. We behave badly when we're hurt. And unfortunately, that's just the human condition. And, you know, this is hard to wrap your mind around, but I believe everybody's doing the best they can, even if their best is subpar to what your best might be. You know, I was a huge athlete, and I didn't get like that. Everyone has different levels, different capabilities. It took me a while to learn this, right? And that was my flaw. That was my fault. That I didn't recognize where not my whole career, but when I was younger. It's kind of just being self-aware to what's appropriate for all involved. Again, it goes back to the Reiki. Do your kids need to know this? I don't believe so. I don't believe that that's stuff that they need in their head. I think it's, if cheating or abuse happens, then it's to the adults. It's up to the adults to either peacefully end the marriage or heal it. But that's not the adult relationship shouldn't be part of the kids, you know, knowledge. Again, that's what I think.
If one parent is talking though, should the other parent defend themselves, or are they better off just not getting involved or defending or standing up for themselves? Is silence better or?
Again, I think that can be case by case, right? Like, you know, I know you might be like, well, I want to have a backbone. I don't want it to look like, you know, I can't, there's no blanket statement ever, because there's such a rainbow of scenarios, right? It's like, there's a spectrum. I know it's easier said than done, but I think silence and strength and just, kind of being the stronger person, being the bigger person, and not throwing, because at some point the mudslinging, someone has to stop it. But then once the kids reach a certain age where they have a level of understanding, see, I think that's what people don't comprehend is where is my child's level of comprehension, and what is age appropriate for them. Does that make sense? So,
yeah.
You know, I think a lot of times, to this example and other times, we don't keep in mind how we were when we were that age. You know, like, how much can this child really understand, and what are they going to spend the rest of their life recovering from if they are privy to this information? So my advice would be, the best you can, just love them. Love yourself enough to know that whatever's being said is untrue. Because I think, you know, I went through a scenario actually, where it was kind of like a Mean Girls scenario, and it got ugly. And I mean, it was kind of one of those things as an adult, like, wow, this still happens. And my name got dragged through the mud because there was some women that I knew stuff about them that they weren't proud of, so they just decided to make some stuff up about me. And I was like, wait, why are people saying this? And like, this is not true. And I figured out what was happening. I was like, oh, okay, they decided to take me down instead of, and I never said anything. I put my head down, I kept doing my thing, and I just didn't say anything. And I just kept doing me. And the people that are going to believe you are going to believe you. And the people that aren't, they're not. And I know that so profound, right, Deb? Like, but it's kind of like when you're trying to convince somebody of something and they're not going to believe you, I just kind of let go of that anymore. I don't know if that was super eloquent, but you know what I mean? Like, if you have to convince somebody of something, then That's just a lot of work. I think the people that are going to believe you and that are on your side, if you just keep walking the walk and doing you and being the bigger person, then that's what's going to prevail.
Yeah. I really like how you are oversimplifying the mudslinging, because I think sometimes you're right. It's like at some point like somebody has to like just put their hands up or down, or however you want to say that.
Right.
So if you know like if you play the whole movie out, as they say, and you know that somebody at some point has to stop, then why wouldn't we just take out all that nastiness of however long that's going to be and just like stop it in the very beginning at the
because
first
we're human.
Yeah, I know, but like the way that you're saying that makes sense. Like now that we know, you just said it, totally makes sense. It's going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until somebody stops. Somebody has to stop. So hearing that, it's like, oh, yeah. So then why even bother? It's like a good concept for somebody to grab onto and say, you know what? She's right. Deb's right. Like, why would I even do one slingshot back, knowing that a whole bunch of stuff is going to be said and happen and unravel that's totally unnecessary? It's going to raise up my anxiety. It's going to disrupt the kids. Why not just no harm, no foul in the very beginning?
I mean, and it doesn't mean to walk away and not have a backbone, right? Like, it's not about that. It's actually sometimes about becoming more than that and being strong enough to walk away and handle this, you know, when you're at a calmer place. And I posted something the other day somewhere about triggers, right? A lot of the problem in a lot of marriages and relationships and finding relationships is because we are triggered by our past. And the person that we're talking to, looking at, like, you might say something today that triggers me from something that someone said in my past. In our relationships, we do this in our relationships. And I think it's important to catch ourselves when we get triggered. It's probably has nothing to do with what the person is intending. It's just, it sparked something in our past that lit a fire under our ass. And we're like, we get our hackles up and then we jump down their throat. And then it just starts this, like, again, this mudslinging contest. And, but this is kind of how you can break cycles. And this leads into personal development and how my journey was so profound and my change was so transformative, because all of a sudden just the light went off in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, I control me. And everything happening around my life and these tornadoes and these fires and these bad relationships and these narcissists are coming in, you know, it's a mirror of what's happening inside of me. And that is when I started breaking cycles, when I realized that, like, everything, the way I speak, the way I think, the actions that I take, the things that I engage or disengage from, that's in my power. And that is what I like to do for people, is empower them. You know, some people are like, no, I'm not strong enough to be like you, Deb. Like, people are always like, yeah, but you're so strong. And I'm like, you are too. You're just not accessing the resources that you have inside of you, that you really do. You're just not paying attention to them. And the more you just get quiet, and I love meditation for this reason, and you get quiet within yourself and you realize that, like, my life can start again today. My behavior can start again and change today. I can start healing today. That's why I love coaching, helping people heal and get through their life, get to a better place faster than they're able to on their own, you know? Because sometimes you need that outside source, that mirror, that's somebody holding you accountable, you know, rather than running around and just crying and screaming to anybody that'll listen, which I used to do. I don't know if you have ever been there.
Yes.
But, you know, in the blame game, where I'm just gonna blame him and it's his fault and nothing I do is wrong. And I mean, yes, I've come into contact with some bad people, as have you. But I wouldn't have had these people in my life if I had been more self-aware, if I had loved myself more, if I had had these practices in place and this awareness that I have now. And that's when your life starts to change, when you have these practices and this self-awareness and accountability. So yeah.
Yeah. I definitely dealt with a lot of that, and I'm actually low key sort of embarrassed at this point at how, like, with everything that I know now, I'm just like so just embarrassed. It's like all the time
Like when you look
wasted.
back.
Yeah. And I just
Yeah.
think of, like, on the phone with my mom, on the phone with my best friend, my girlfriend at the gym, whatever it was, and just spewing the same story, different day, over and over and over again about some of this crap I was dealing with. And it's all just a lack of boundaries on all levels.
Yeah.
And not finding my own power. It's absolutely ridiculous, but so grateful that I am where I am now. And also so grateful that the podcast exists and individuals like yourself come on and share their own experiences and allow people to recognize, like, yeah, you said it, I said it, like, yeah, sometimes our younger selves don't know all the things,
Yeah.
but that's not the point. The point is to learn the things and then, evolve and create a different journey and pivot. So I want to ask, in your journey, from start to where you are now, what would you say has been like the number one lesson that you've learned about life?
Um, can the number one lesson be like 5 things?
Yes.
Just kidding. So the number one lesson is probably 2 things, 2 big things. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. When we learn to open up and communicate, it can be uncomfortable, but that is where you transform. When you really take a hard look at yourself and see how your behavior is contributing to the outcomes and the results that you're getting in life, that is when you start to really transform, and you get, because we're the only people with us 24/7, so it's in our best interest to look at ourselves, right? Like, there's no guarantee that any person is going to be in our life after this minute. So rather than blaming them, we work on ourselves, and then we bring better experiences into our atmosphere, right? So, I guess the biggest lesson is that it's all a lesson. There's no mistake in it. And it hurts me when I hear you and other women and, myself regret any time in the past doing what we did. That was just a lesson. And sometimes things have to get so bad for us to make a change. And sometimes things have to get so bad for us to learn the lesson. I got out of my marriage and got into immediately 2 subsequent relationships that were way worse, way, way, way worse. Worse than my divorce. And that's when I just was like, wait a second, the common denominator is me. And, so I just stopped dating, and I focused on myself and personal development, and started to, things just started to change. But I think we have to give ourselves grace and forgive ourselves for the shit that we didn't know when we didn't know it. The person that we were before we got to ourselves now, right? That's still going to continue and evolve, and it's never going to stop.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. And it all takes time. It all takes time, and it takes patience on our end with ourselves, to be what do people always say? Give yourself grace.
Yeah. Yeah. Patience is something that I think most of us sorely lack when what we want hasn't shown up yet. And this can be big things to small things. But what I found is the more impatient I get, the more force that I put into something, the more apt it is to fail, because it's forced. It's not organic. And so, these days I really try to go with the flow and read the signs, and and not force things, because every relationship, every job I've tried to force, it fails, so be patient, breathe, give yourself, anyone that's looking for a relationship or to fix the relationship they're in, if you become the person that you want to attract, like become that, write down your avatar, write down everything you're looking for, someone patient, someone kind, someone playful, someone loving, and become that person. And when you become that person, or in the becoming of that person, you're living in joy, right? You're having fun, and you're enjoying life on the journey. Like, I've had coached people that want relationships so badly that they just, again, this was me before, why I got into bad relationships, because I thought that defined me. Being in a relationship, that's what, how dare you be someone that's single and happy, you must be in a relationship. And I remember my turning point, the happened about 3 years ago. I was sitting on my couch on a Saturday night, and I was like, this is the first Saturday night I've been okay with being completely alone, being completely single. And I was like, wow, I've never been so completely happy with myself, as and it took a lot of work. It took a long time to get here, or there, but it was an awareness, like, wow, I am enough. And I do love myself enough that I'm happy to read a book or go for a walk, and I'm okay. It's okay to be single and happy. So I don't know if you've ever been through that aloneness. I think you put a post up about, what do you do when you're alone? And I'm like, I'm never alone anymore. I don't have that feeling anymore. Like, I just don't, because I fill my cup, like, continuously. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do I ever feel alone? No.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad if you do. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we feel how we feel.
Yeah, I feel like I've never even thought about that. I don't even know where that question came from. Maybe I was feeling lonely. Yeah, I don't feel like I ever, if anything, I am the opposite of I think some people, where I love being by myself. So I'm more of a lone wolf. My fiance is the exact opposite. He loves being around people. He loves like energy and activities and do stuff. And
but what if you didn't have your fiance?
Dinner with friends.
So I guess my question is, see, I love a lot of me time. I need it. I'm an extroverted introvert, and I can only take, when I was teaching 20 classes at the gym and just was people, I'd get home and I'd be like, oh, like, leave me alone. But I ask you this question, let's say, before you met your fiance, or, he got on a rocket ship to Mars, and you have your alone time, but then can you, if there wasn't a fiance, would it be a different answer?
I would fill that void with somebody, girls' nights or whatever it was. But yeah, but I don't know if I would say that that's lonely. I would say that that's quality. Like, we as humans need to have community and be amongst other
connection.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So if you would have asked me this anytime between 0 and probably 25, I would say I was a total attention whore.
Yeah.
And not like in a disturbing way, but just needed to be around people and validation. I remember I would spend time putting my makeup on, doing my hair, getting dressed to walk around the mall by myself, looking for validation. Yeah. And I literally would not leave the mall until more than one person talked to me, complimented me, like filled my cup, and then I would leave. And that's the only reason I got dressed.
Yeah. And that's why what I try to do is help people get that for themselves. It doesn't mean that they don't need interaction and connection with humans and community and stuff like that. I guess my point is, yeah, I mean, go to the mall if going to the mall brings you joy, but going to the mall because you need the external validation is a thing in and of itself. So, you know, when we need other people to validate us, we are not coming from a healthy place. And I hope I'm not telling you something you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I used to think that I was not good enough if I didn't have a significant other. And yeah, I mean, online dating is a vicious place for feeling like that. You know, that's a whole, whew,
Yeah.
that could be a whole hour just in and of itself of talking about what the dangers of online dating when you are looking for external validation. Did you ever, have you online dated? Is that how
Dude, I loved online dating.
Really?
Yeah. After I left my abusive ex, I did one of the worst ones. It's Plenty of Fish. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yes.
But my girlfriend,
yeah,
so my girlfriend and I are both ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Neither one of us celebrate the holidays. We still don't celebrate holidays or birthdays. So we were like both single. And we're like, where do we find a man where we're not going to like be in this lull argument of like birthdays and because it's weird. The dynamic is weird. It's uncomfortable for us, for some of us. So we were like, maybe there's an XJW dating site. So we went on just to be curious and funny. There obviously was not one, but
like
we both got a gazillion dating sites that popped up. So she signed up with whatever came to her eye. Whatever came to my eye, and I loved it. I had so much fun going out, hanging out. I did it only on Saturdays and Sundays. Like I had boundaries. I was like, you know, working on my nose and, you know, like strengthening my voice and my power. I almost used it as like a classroom.
But that's the best way to do it. You were doing it right.
Yeah.
So anyone listening, that's the way to do it. Have, you know, boundaries, and you have to have a healthy self-esteem to say no to bullshit, because there's a lot of bullshit out there. I mean, I could write a book, and I might one day, but yeah, but you did it right. You had fun with it, and you know, I think when we're desperate to be in a relationship, we look at every person that we meet. Is this the one? Is this the one? In the pressure of that, oh my God. And then the disappointment from that, you know, the disappointment hangover, you know, the build up and the talk before was great, and then you meet, right? So I think that's a great way to just look at life. And I look at life more like that now. You know, the last time I got on online dating, a while ago, I went with a new perspective that I'm just gonna have fun, and it can be friendship, it can be whatever. If this person isn't for my highest good, then it's a goodbye after that. And you know, I'm never going to be unkind to somebody, but I don't need to let not everybody I meet online dating gets a seat in my world or in my head. You know, I think that's a big thing, is like, who do we give space in our head to, you know, because we might go on a date that, where that person we're not their cup of tea, and they ghost us or they block us. And I used to be like, oh, what I do wrong? What I say wrong? That person was so awesome. And now my reaction would be like, thank you for removing yourself from the possibilities. You just saved me time.
Totally.
Yeah. So if you're not supposed to be in life, then let's not waste time.
Yeah. Let's exit quickly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I met my fiance on that app.
Nice. On Plenty of Fish?
Yeah. Yeah. His brother married his wife off the app. So when he split from his ex, he called his brother, whatever, like brother talk. And his brother was like, dude, try Plenty of Fish. He's like, are you for real? He's like, dude, that's where I met my wife.
Yeah.
So he got on. I was his first contact.
Really?
Yeah. He was like my 37th, but whatever. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think I've had 106. But I just firmly believe that it's all a journey, and when things are supposed to align, they do, and they weren't supposed to. And so I'm just continuing my growth journey, and just I'm really loving where I'm in the space that I'm with my kids, and with my work, and with my journey. I mean, I think I mentioned before, I'm starting a podcast, and it can be a little scary, right? But exciting. I'm excited about it. That there's a fine line between fear and excitement. And if we can turn that fear into excitement, it's a much safer place to operate from. So, anybody watching that has a fear of something, if you can figure out how to tweak it into excitement and curiosity, and how can I pivot this into joy, you're gonna have a much easier time. So,
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. What does success mean to you?
Just success in life, or my career, or just in general? Success, having a freaking fantastic relationship with my kids, which I do, and helping people. I've always had the drive to help people. And, my mission is to serve millions and to reach millions. And doing that brings me success. When I change a life, when I work with someone and change their perspective and help them, that to me is success.
I love that. How do you show that to your children?
My what success? Or well, it's funny, you see children. It's like my oldest is 21 and my youngest is 18. You know what? Honestly, just by taking care of me. And this is what I preach, and this just goes for everything, is you can't preach I'm successful. I think you have to show it, and you have to do it, and you have to walk the walk. And just like modeling mental health and physical health, and the right ways to take care of yourself with food, and balance in life, and meditation is I think I just really try to walk the walk, because I don't want to be hypocritical. And I think we know as parents, everything we do for our kids is out of love. We've loved them so much, but sometimes we love them so much. And I was talking to a client about this, is sometimes we love our kids so much that we disempower them. We do too much for them, and we clip their wings. And so allowing them to fall, not fail, because I don't believe that there is such thing as failure. It's just a lesson. It's back to the lesson. Everything's a lesson. So just reminding myself that these are two humans that I created that are outside of me, that they're their own individual selves. Let them be themselves. Let them fail. Let them fly. Let them experiment. And let them just be their own person. And because if you don't let your kid do that, they're going to fight you, and they're going to feel resentment, and they're going to feel like you don't approve of them.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I think we have to back off and not even say anything. And I know I'm guilty of this with my kids, because I'm such a preacher, teacher, and in personal development. I'll be like, oh, you know what you could have done? But I try to let them ask for it.
Yeah.
And come to it on their own. Or we have a dialogue where I take them back in memory. I do a lot of memory work where I take people back into an experience or a memory and retrain them how to do it differently in the future. So, I try to be respectful that they're not my clients, they're my kids, and that they need to have their own experiences that are separate from me and pick themselves up. I'll be there if they need them. I'll always be there if they need me. But let them learn and grow and pick themselves up, because that no matter how much help we get from someone else, until we learn to do for ourselves, we are disempowered. So,
Yeah. I was just writing I was just videoing a post about the parent-child dynamic and how important it is when a person goes from child to adult, that it is that now adults almost like obligation to detach as a child in order to create their own individuality. We sometimes keep our parents on this pedestal and allow them to continue to give their opinions and give their thoughts on how you should be doing things. And that's an important pivot that we all need to make as adults, is to, kind of unlatch that.
Yeah.
Because at some point you become an equal. And then at some point your parents get older and you then have to take charge. So it's an important thing to maneuver,
to separate. Yeah. And I like that my kids will fight back in a loving way. I am very close with my girls. People a lot of times are like, throughout the years, they're like, oh, you have teenage girls, God bless you. And I'm like, thank you. Like, we get along great, because one important thing that I learned, this is hopefully anyone that's watching will stick this in their back pocket. Anytime there was a problem between my relationship with me and my kids, or individually, I learned very early on to what's my problem, how am I acting as a parent, and how can I change? Because it's too many parents put, oh, my kid is doing this, my kid is acting badly. But normally when it's a relationship, a parent-child, the parent is acting poorly, or they haven't pivoted their parenting skills, or they haven't allowed, you're still treating your kid as their 6-year-old self, and now they're 12. And so I've learned to adapt and change me at every growth stage. And I learned, sometimes I'm a little hard-headed. You get used to doing something and you don't see your kids evolve. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, okay, they're kicking back because I'm still treating them. They're that 6-year-old, and now they're 12, now they're 15, now they're 18. And so I have learned, and I try to teach this and coach this, that maybe it's not your kid that needs to change. Maybe it's you. Right.
Yeah.
And that usually gets people to go, you're right. So again, it all always goes back to your thoughts, your words, your actions. You're with you 24/7. So get to know yourself, love yourself, grow, get a coach, whatever you need to do to be your best self, because your relationships and everything around you is in a mirror to everything going on inside of you. So, people might be seeing as, oh, well, my spouse is such an asshole or whatever. Doesn't mean you're an asshole, but you allowed that behavior at some point. Or in my case, I missed red flags that if I had been my now self, I would have never gotten a relationship with that person. And sometimes we don't have these awarenesses until, we're in it. And then it's just navigating it, as best we can from where we are. Life's not perfect. Life is messy. It's learning about how to clean up the mess, I guess, the best you can with the least fallout to everybody,
Yeah. Speaking of relationships, what would be some advice that you'd give to females who are struggling with their relationships or their connections?
Okay, well, this is going to be a huge shock to you, but back to yourself, right? Focus on you. I would say the biggest, if you're in this cyclical, this repeating pattern of attracting the same guy, like if you keep attracting narcissists, okay, it doesn't mean you're a narcissist. It doesn't mean you're not. It just means that there's something in you that you have to realize and change. And again, going back to building an avatar of, and I work with people on their beliefs about themselves, their I am statements. I am this, I am this, I am this. Well, if you're trying to attract this, but you're that, well, how are you going to attract that? So really sometimes shutting down dating until you figure yourself out. And you have these awarenesses and you go back into what worked and what didn't in your past relationships, and learning to give yourself the love. And as you know, so I know when I had low self-esteem, I let a lot of people in my life that really shouldn't be there, shouldn't have been there. But, and I used to be mad at them. Now I'm like, okay, that was my fault.
Yeah.
But in a very loving way. I forgive myself for all of that. I have no regrets at all. Like, I have none. Because I've come to terms with, well, I just hadn't learned my lesson, and I had to get my ass kicked so hard to wake me up, and then start to love me and put up boundaries, and not walls, but boundaries. And I did build up walls after, some stuff that had happened, some trauma. But again, learning that, let's say trauma happened when you're 25. Well, I'm not 25 anymore. That happened to my 25-year-old self. That's not going to happen again, because I'm not going to let it happen. My now self knows better. So learning to trust ourselves helps us be more aware of who we can trust.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
So getting to know yourself and trust yourself, the more you trust yourself and have your boundaries and know what you want and what you don't want, you're easily able to recognize who just shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And again, God bless everybody, right? Like, they can be who they are, but that doesn't mean they get a seat in your life.
100, definitely. Yeah. I don't remember the exact point, but I remember a definitive feeling in my world when I finally recognized that trust thing that you're talking about, and how important that was for me to grab onto and to start working on for myself. And it's been a huge pivoting point in all areas, with my relationships, with my business, with my money, like trusting myself to take care of myself. It's a powerful feeling.
Yeah. Yes. All of this is empowering, right? When you learn that you do have, every single person alive has what they need inside of them. It's just, are you accessing it? And that's what I help clients do, is pull this out. Like, yeah, you can do this. I don't have any tools or anything in my brain that's any different than what you were born with. It's just, I have done the work.
Yeah.
You do the work and you have the awarenesses, and sometimes, some people are quicker to understand and have these awarenesses, and everyone gets to where they are in their own time. And that's okay. I think we just have to take a breath, and I'm here in this place in life because I haven't learned the lesson. What's the lesson? And then once you do, then you go to the next level of Jumanji, right? Like, you don't pass go until you learn the lesson. And so if you keep repeating that lesson with men or with jobs or with whatever, just put a pin in it and start to just look in the mirror. One of the hardest lessons, oh gosh, this was very humbling, is I took a course that said, send an email to three or five close friends and have them respond to you about, like let them be candid and just say, like, what are not the worst things about you, but like, what are Deb's flaws, basically? And you have to give these people permission, like, give them permission to be brutally honest. And they were, and it was painful, but I grew from it. And I was like, you know what? They're kind of right, because other people that we can lovingly trust in our life, if we ask them for feedback, we don't need yes men in our life and telling us everything we want to hear. We don't grow with that. Although it feels good to have people around us that agree with us and we love and trust and stuff like that, I'm not that kind of coach. If I pick up on something, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to see, like, you're not seeing this. You have blinders onto this. And can you handle it? Are you ready for this? Because if you can handle this, then your life's going to change, right? But if we just want everybody in our life to just, like, pet us like we're a cat and be super nice to us, and we need some of that, but we don't grow when that's all we have.
Yeah. Definitely. That's fantastic. Yep. And I love the yes man. We don't need more yes men. I think that's so true.
Yeah.
So true. So tell us what you do, all the things. Well, first of all, hang on. I want to acknowledge all those watching live. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with Deb and I while we have this awesome conversation. And those of you watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know where you are and we can send you some love. But I want to ask, what do you do? Tell us about the shock effect. Tell us about your business, what you do for the humans.
Yeah. So for right now, I'm a one-on-one coach. But I am open to group coaching if, let's say someone's watching has like a group of friends or a company that they want, a coach to come into and help their culture or help their, it's no secret that the pandemic has blown open, mindset, marital, mental health issues. And I am actually starting my own podcast very shortly. We're going to be putting stuff out. It's the Shock Effect podcast. But I help people really do all that we've been talking about. Hold a mirror up to yourself when you're ready to transform. When you're in enough pain, you're like, I'm done behaving and getting the same results. I'll help you get new ones. I am on Instagram. I have a kind of a crazy eclectic Instagram. It's somewhere between a personal development coach and a fitness influencer because I'm a little bit of mind, body, spirit. I like to be a 360-degree coach where I'll help you with wherever you're falling down. But my main jam is to help moms and or dads that just they're not happy, they're not thriving, and they know that their kids in their relationship with their kids are suffering as a result. Yeah, I still work. I still teach at the gym. I like to say I give back by doing that. But my Instagram has a lot of free, if you can put up with my posts, free stuff on there. That's the Shock Effect. My website is the Shock Effect if you want to get in touch with me. But yeah, I'm just trying to make big things happen, as are you. So hopefully we can team up a little bit as well.
Yes, I love that. And why do you do what you do?
Because I can't not do it. It's in my blood. I'm just called to do it.
That's good. What are your big dreams for your business?
As I said earlier, to reach millions. That's my goal, to serve millions, to help people realize that where they are stuck, where they feel like that their road has ended or they've got blocks, they can be removed. You can get help. I've helped people that thought they couldn't get help. I've helped people that have been in therapy for decades because I coach in a new way. And I'm very results oriented, action oriented. I help shut down trauma that's happened in your past, so that you heal now and that you have a better future. So, I'm not sure if I answered your question. I kind of squirreled off there.
I was asking you what your big dreams are.
Yeah, my big dreams are just that, to help people. And I know certain people are watching. They're like, oh, there goes squirrel. But yeah, my big dreams are just to help people in ways they didn't know were possible. There's just things that I have learned that I've done for clients, that I've done for myself, that I've done for my kids, that 10, 20 years ago, I just didn't realize that these things were possible in our brain, these ways to heal, to deeply heal. And there's a lot of modalities. There's a lot of ways that people can heal, like tapping or EMDR, EFT, or I'm not sure if that's the right thing, but I deal a lot with memories and recreating your stories, shutting down your limiting beliefs, and not recreating stories, is changing those stories, changing the narratives, and watching how we speak and communicate. And I teach a lot of perspective so that, there might be someone in a marriage that's not thriving, but I can change your perspective. I have worked with clients where the husband won't come to coaching, won't go to therapy. And so changes can be made with one person participating. It's not going to happen as fast, but, and personal development doesn't really work if you're not ready to do the work and you're not going to show up. I've had people that start and they're getting results, but then they stop, and your results are going to stop, So yeah, I just want people to get excited to know that there's ways out there to heal and to grow and to live life in a more joyous way that you ever thought was possible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Instagram is the best place for people to find you on social media? The Shock Effect?
Yeah, probably on for social media. And my website is theshockeffect.com.
I think that has like underscores or something in it, right? How does it
go?
Oh,
it's the_shock_effect. Yeah, I can't even picture it right now, but probably if you type the shock effect, or if you just go theshockeffect.com, that will take you to my website. And so please feel free to fill out the form, and we'll just have a chit chat. I don't try to drag in clients unwillingly. I only take the willing, and only for a vibrational energy match, because I'm not going to drag you down this road without you wanting to be there. Because, you know, as you know, when you're a coach and you're letting energy into your life, I've let some people into my energy, my life, my coaching that I probably shouldn't have. And so now I'm very mindful. It's almost like an interview. You interview me, I interview you. We see if this is like a love match, and things are going to transform faster when it's the right fit as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. But this has been fantastic. I so appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. For those of you that are listening live or on the replay and you resonated with Deb and all her goodness, make sure to connect with her on her website, Insta, all the places. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to help us to continue to rise. Any closing thoughts before I wrap up, Deb?
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything left that I haven't said.
I know. We said so much. we gave so much.
We said all the things.
Yes.
But I just want to leave people with hope. I really want to give people hope. And I'd like to say I gave birth to hope, because that's my youngest child's name. But you know, she I have to say, my kids are my guiding light, and that keeps me wanting to do better and be better, for myself first, because when we take care of ourselves first, those around us, our relationships, can heal and can get better. And when your kids see you working on you, that inspires them to work on themselves, because our kids do what we do. And so if you wonder why your kids are doing something like look in the mirror, they're probably copying you. So the only way to break that cycle is to teach them something new and do something different.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us. For those of you listening live and on the replay, thank you for joining us here on Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with stories of people who are doing it just a little bit different than some of us are. So if you have a story to tell, make sure to reach out to me here or at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Until next time.